critical thinking, how to hold your own in a debate, or at least see flaws in the other person's thinking. Okay, so that's number 3.
You can begin now.
Okay.
Okay. And if you would, if you have a piece of paper, you might want to write down some of this information, because it can help you when you're dealing with people. Most of the time when you're in a debate, what people don't do is define the terms that they're using. They'll use terms like justice, equality, freedom, economic redistribution, but they don't really define for you what they're talking about. And so one of the things to do is to use your thesaurus. Okay, that's the first step. And like if you were taking the term equality, you'd look up equality, and you'd see that words like it are justice, equity, impartiality, fair play, a square deal, even-handed, redistributive justice, okay? Equal opportunity, recompense, compensation. So those are words relating to it. So if a person is bringing up the issue of, well, I'm not equal in this situation, or I'm not equal to this situation, or a certain group of people aren't equal to other people based on all sorts of different things. So the first thing you want to do is when a person brings up something like that is to ask them, well, would you give me a clear-cut case of what it is that you're talking about? Okay? Clear-cut case. If I had a blackboard, I would write that on the blackboard, clear-cut case. Now, is there a topic that you'd like to take? Is there a theme that's the burning issue of the day that you'd like to parse? Anybody?
Yes.
Yes.
The Iran nuclear deal.
Say that again?
The Iran nuclear deal.
Oh, the Iran nuclear deal.
Yes.
Okay. So first, if you're going to look at the issues relating to the Iran nuclear deal, you want to decide, well, what are the concepts that we're dealing with? Okay? So right away, if a person is arguing one way or another, you'd have to figure out, okay, what are the concepts? One of the concepts is war. Another concept would be destruction. Another concept would be terrorism. The other concept would be mutual relationships between countries. And is it possible? Is it even possible? Okay, so let's look at a clear-cut case of a deal that's worked. Can we think of one? Can we think of any kind of situation we've had up to this point where we've gone in and negotiated with a nation to deter them, for that nation to deter themselves from going ahead with a nuclear warhead? Is there?
Well, not nuclear, but like Japan has an agreement with us not to engage in warlike actions, and has
Yes.
stuck to it for decades.
Yeah, they have. So that's a good example. The only difference with that example is they didn't negotiate with us from parity. Okay, they were the vanquished nation. It's like anything that was done with Germany after World War I. They were the vanquished nation, and so they didn't have any grounds to negotiate from, whereas Iran does have grounds to negotiate from. They've got a formidable army, they've got a formidable air force and navy. So they actually are a threat even without nuclear weapons. So in the case of Japan, and this is how you have to begin to look at it, okay? So we don't really have a clear-cut case so far, because the only one that we have social context or historical precedent for is Japan, and Japan was not negotiating from parity. Okay, they were negotiating from submissive state. Is there any other situation that we can think of, any other clear-cut cases where somebody willingly gave up the direction they were going to so that they could have an opportunity to re-enter the economic markets? That's a borderline case. Okay, that's as close as we can get so far. We got a borderline case from historical precedent.
You must have one in mind.
I don't.
Oh. Why did Syria stop using chemical weapons, or have they stopped?
Or have they stopped? Okay, there was some negotiating in Europe regarding that type of thing. And when you think about it, why did they decide to not use chemical weapons?
Maybe because they're able to drive other people out without it.
Yeah. Again, that's I suppose that's closer than a borderline case, because they did give up that. We think they gave up that weapon, and they did that so that France and the United States and others wouldn't mass a wholesale offensive against them, against the Sadat regime, and eliminate it. Okay. So when you're beginning to look at things like this, you want to say, okay, can I come up with a clear-cut case where this has worked in the past? And that's why there's so much debate regarding the Iran argument, the Iran negotiation, because it really hasn't worked when two countries have tried to come to a middle ground, with both having some sort of power. Now, some of the things that you can look at when you're looking at arguments like this are, what's the underlying anxiety? In the case
Anxiety
of
both ways. With
Yeah.
that.
Nuclear war.
nuclear war is the anxiety, that they will develop it and that somehow there will be a nuclear war. Let's see, what are the other underlying anxieties?
The demolition of Israel as a
That's huge.
place.
That's huge, and that is so complicated.
It'd make it clear they want to do that.
Yeah, yeah. The other thing is, the real underlying anxiety for a lot of the Iranians is their economic well-being. I mean, Iran is really an advanced civilization. You know, they're well-versed in social media, they have a lot of activities going. Strangely enough, their government is almost reactionary, but there's this a real educated group of people live in Iran before the hostage situation, and even afterwards. There were a whole lot of Iranians, Persians that were coming here to be educated in our college system. I don't know if it's still happening or not, but it was at one time. So you're dealing with a country that does actually want the opportunity to re-enter the nation. Okay, so at that point, we've looked at the social or historical context as much as we can. We've come up with borderline cases that have worked, but we haven't been able to come up with a clear-cut case of what that would be identical enough so that we could say what is absolutely necessary for there to be a sustainable negotiation. And that's
Trust,
what,
and we can't trust them. Trust is necessary.
yeah, that's an underlying
Okay.
anxiety for sure.
History
is
shows
lack
we
of
can't
trust.
trust them.
Yeah. And so in conclusion, what you want to look for when you're trying to make comparisons. When you're looking at the comparisons, you're trying to take a look at what situations are absolutely necessary for a clear-cut case of a successful negotiation to work, a clear-cut case of equality, or a clear-cut case of justice to work. And you look at those requirements. These are what are necessary for the clear-cut case to be effective. Thank you.